PBR here with Blue Collar Reformation, Apologetics Part 2. Last time I talked about how Christianity is a thinking religion, how Augustine taught us that faith seeks understanding. We have the doctrines, we have our faith in the doctrines, and we seek to understand how those doctrines apply. Paul reasoned from the scriptures constantly throughout the entire book of Acts, and we find him reasoning and persuading. So we should not be anti-intellectual. The gospel is a simple message, but it is also as deep as the ocean. Some people need more clarity and more reason in their evangelism than others. Christian philosopher and theologian Cornelius Van Til critiqued the evangelistic apologetics of many who really only occasionally engage in apologetics. In fact, he called them one-text apologists, meaning that they were answering their opponents, but really with one text or one answer or one evidence. In other words, they have one thing they're going to say, but they don't reason thoroughly and systematically from the entire worldview to defend Christianity. They give a few reasons why it must be true, but they really actually concede a lot of so-called common ground. Van Til wrote, "The fight between Christianity and non-Christianity is, in modern times, no piecemeal affair. It is the life and death struggle between two mutually opposed life and worldviews. The non-Christian attack often comes to us on matters of historical or other detail. It comes to us in the form of objections to certain teachings of Scripture, say, with respect to creation, etc. It may seem to be simpler and simply a matter of asking what the facts have been. Back of this detailed attack, however, is the constant assumption of the non-Christian metaphysics of the correlativity of God and man. He who has not been trained in systematic theology will often be at a loss as to how to meet these attacks. He may be quite proficient in warding off the attack as far as details are concerned, but he will forever have to be afraid of new attacks as long as he has never removed the foundation of the enemy's position. It should not be forgotten in this connection that the minister's duty is increasingly that of an apologist for Christianity. The general level of education is higher than it has ever been. Many young people hear of evolution in the high schools and in the colleges where their forefathers never heard of it except as far distant somethings. If the minister would be able to help his young people, he must be a good apologete. And he cannot be a good apologete unless he is a good systematic theologian. So what I am commending to you is that you know your systematic theology and that you take that entire system of systematic theology as your basis. You concede no common ground other than that we live in the same world and we see and feel the same things. But the way we interpret it is entirely different. And you set side by side the Christian worldview with the non-Christian worldview of the day that you're currently speaking to. So if you're speaking to a Muslim, or you're speaking to a Buddhist, or you're speaking to a Roman Catholic, or you're speaking to a modernist, or you're speaking to a modernist Roman Catholic, or a modernist Buddhist, or a modernist Islamist, you have the same method that you bring your entire theological worldview to bear, and you set them side by side, and you put the burden, you put the onus on your debate partner to show and assert why is the world the way that it is. And the reason why is because many people need a full-orbed, systematic apologetic. J. Gresham Machen, who wrote Christianity and Liberalism, which is here over on my right shoulder, he called for a reasoned faith. And he explained that not all will be converted by reasoning, and all will be converted by biblical reasoning. But that reasoning must be more full for some who have been indoctrinated deeply into modernism. He talks about them as another class of uninterested persons who is much more numerous. It consists of those who have definitely settled the question and their opposite way. They may get this little book, and if it ever comes into their hands, it will soon be flung aside as only another attempt at defense of a position already hopelessly lost. There are still individuals, they will say, who believe that the earth is flat. There are also individuals who defend Christianity and the church and miracles and the atonement and all. And either case, it will be said, the phenomenon is interesting as a curious example of arrested development, but it is nothing more. So basically, Machen, writing in 1923, said they are going to lump you in as guilty by association with the stereotypes like flat earthers. They're going to say you're backward, you're bigoted, your old world thinking just doesn't fit with modern man. And having been deeply indoctrinated into modernism, they need a full-orbed Christian theology so that they can't get away with lumping you in as guilty by association with the stereotypes. The scriptures and our experience show we must give an exposition of the truth of correct belief to correct unbelief. We need to give an answer to those who are deeply entrenched in modernism. So my aim is to give you a manful, thoughtful approach to sharing your faith. It may sound complicated, but I will break it down into bite-sized chunks in these videos so that you have some useful methods of approaching other faiths. This is PBR signing off.